The All Blacks against the Springboks feels like a soap opera. Every day we're getting a plot twist. We're getting a new bit of information which is throwing a little bit more spice and a few more question marks into the mix. And without any teams being announced until Thursday, I'll tell you what, one phrase I always use with really massive matches, the best rugby matches I've ever seen are when small moments feel like big moments. And some of these stories which are coming out, some of these bits of news from the All Black and the Springbok camp, in most other weeks would feel like kind of throwaway bits of news. They feel big and they feel important right now. So I'm going to lean into that and get you up to speed with everything that's been going on. And I'm going to lean into the fact that this feels like a soap opera playing out. The main characters are Razor and Rassie. If you appreciated that, show your appreciation by dropping a little thumbs up on the video, hitting subscribe, and leaving a comment in the chat down below as I go through the stories that are breaking. I'm mixing all my genres here because it feels like a soap opera there with the credits, but I also feel like a newsreader bringing you all the headlines. So the first one is Razor is facing a further injury crisis. Scrum halves, he's having to go right down the depth chart. Cam Roigard is 100% out. Noah Hotham is not back for a month. Cortez Ratimer, his fitness, he's looking unlikely. A lot of people are saying going down to the wire. That's the phrase, going down to the wire. So he's not going to take a full part in training. So he's not going to start. So it's going to be Finlay Christie starting. Can Cortez Ratimer be fit enough to go on the bench? It looks like it's not going to be the case. Kyle Preston was stood down from NPC duty at the weekend. He's there as cover. What an occasion to make your debut. The further plot twist, though, is that Kyle Preston limped out of training on Tuesday, earlier today as I record this. So, I mean, he could be a doubt as well. So, I mean, the one thing you have to say is Australia did all right against South Africa with their fourth or fifth choice fly half. So, massive blow for New Zealand. And it won't add to their level of confidence, but we will see, I guess. Also, next story, Rassie has explained not naming his team until Thursday. Ordinarily, we get a Bok Monday. At the very worst, we get a Bok Tuesday. And a couple of days before any other team announces their side, we've already had the South African team to digest. Rassie Erasmus has explained that New Zealand analysed thoroughly and basically doesn't want to give them any advantage. That is firstly an admission that there is an advantage for an opposition in getting the team early. It was a sort of show of confidence previously, wasn't it? It's like, yeah, you can have our team. We don't care. We're going to do what we're going to do, and we're still going to roll you over. And to be fair, it's worked. But I think this just speaks to the magnitude of this match, the significance of it. The fact, yes, they have 2 World Cup winners' medals round their neck. They won the Rugby Championship last year. But this 50-game unbeaten record over 31 years for New Zealand is something that Rassie desperately wants to be the one to break. And you can't blame him for that. It's a huge game. There is one other factor as well, and that is the fact that Sia Khaleesi, there's a question mark over his fitness. He will definitely be available for the second test, but he is a doubt for this weekend. What do South Africa do if Sia Khaleesi is out? I think that I was talking about in my potential team, do you go Khaleesi and Pieter-Steph du Toit on the flanks with Jean-Luc Depree at number 8 without Jasper Wiese, and that would be quite harsh on Marco van Staden missing out. He's been one of the better players. The alternative would be, or Quagga Smith obviously could be the starting number 8, or the alternative is Sia Khaleesi to be the number 8, where he played in that first test against Australia. I mean, it's really fascinating to see what happens. Will Khaleesi be available? That's the next one. Next story then, next instalment in the soap opera. Razor has, he's clearly treating this as a bit of a one-off as well, because Sir Wayne Smith is in. The coaching legend for the All Blacks is in the camp. to add his expertise, his nous, his motivational skills, a bit of experience to help Scott Robertson through what is a massive week. And that's just an added little extra bit of spice as well. Why not? If you've got that rugby IQ in the room, why not get it there? Next one. Rassie has also said that Faf de Klerk was cover for a knock to Morne van den Berg. He did not replace Bongi and Benambi. Obviously, Bongi and Benambi was left back in South Africa. Faf de Klerk was called up. But the reason there was not a hooker called up is because Thomas de Toy can play scrummage on both sides, because Jan-Hendrik Wessels can cover as hooker as well as loose head prop. So another hooker was not needed. And Faf de Klerk was called up as, and Rassie has described it as, cover for Morne van den Berg. Now, when you call it cover, it makes it sound like, oh, he's just there as a backup. I don't know. I'm not sure if I buy that one. I think if you're going to call up Faf de Klerk, I think Faf de Klerk's going to be involved. Could he even be starting? That will be a really interesting one to watch. And then the final one, in terms of personnel being added to squads, Leicester Fainga Anuku is in. Despite the fact New Zealand had previously said before that if you don't play in New Zealand, you can't play for New Zealand, they did say unless there are exceptional circumstances. Well, Timothy Tavatavanawa is out injured, and Fainga Anuku, who will be back in the All Black squad in time, finishing up with Toulon, where he's been brilliant in France, he is now in the squad. And could he be involved in the test match squad? He plays 13. He can play 12. He can play on the wing. Could be a real potentially useful player to have on the bench. Rico Ioane's not been tearing up trees on the wing. Obviously experienced at centre. Billy Proctor is still bedding in at centre. Could someone who can cover all those positions be quite a useful addition to the squad? I suspect he won't be involved this weekend. Maybe next weekend. Anton Linnett-Brown potentially was going to be on the... I've sort of got him on the bench in my side. I also appreciate Anton Linnett-Brown's discipline's been a bit off. He hasn't been on top form. And maybe just rolling the dice on someone like Leicester Fainga Anuku could be a shout. I think you're up to date. There's probably another story that's bubbling away as I record this. To be fair, right now as I record this, everyone will be asleep in New Zealand. So it'll probably be in the next couple of hours when the news cycle ratchets up again, when there's more press conferences, and we're another day closer to the biggest game of 2025. Bring it on.